Welcome to the Inspired Riding Podcast. I'm your host, Beth Lauren Parrish. As a certified riding instructor, remote coach, and rapid transformational therapy practitioner, a powerful form of hypnotherapy, I'm here to remind you to slow down, trust your intuition, and really deeply listen to your horse. And this will make for the best co-creative dances possible, whether you're on the ground or connecting on their backs. Thank you so much for being here, and here we go. Hello there, Inspired Riders. In this podcast, we're continuing the Riding Instructor Interview Series. I'm so excited to be interviewing Bethany Tuskey. Bethany's love of horses began at an early age, and she has dedicated her life to learning the art of horsemanship from master horse trainers. She studied the art of classical dressage, liberty work, work in hand, and long reining. Bethany has taken what she has learned from other trainers as well as the horses and combined it with her spiritual beliefs to create a unique style of training based on love for the horse. She says our horse is treated as our partner, and our relationship with the horses always takes priority over anything we may want to achieve with them. Through relationships built on mutual trust and understanding, we are able to train our horses without any use of force. Bethany enjoys teaching lessons and clinics as well as performing with her Andalusians at various shows and exhibitions. It is her goal to share her unique training style and show people how they too can take their relationship with their horse to a whole new level. I'm so looking forward to this interview, and here we go. Bethany, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. So as you know, I'm doing this interview series to help support riding instructors. And of course, that ripples out to the bigger horse world. So my first question for you is, what do you love most about teaching?
Well, there's a lot of things I really enjoy about it, but basically, I guess I could sum it up to say that I really enjoy seeing the progress and those moments when things start to really click together and you can see like the light bulbs going off and that kind of thing, whether it's with my human students or with the horses too. It's just really cool to see them develop and grow their confidence and learn new skills. And sometimes working with people, and maybe I can explain something in a different way. And they're like, oh my gosh, I finally understand that. Or, just helping them work through something that they've struggled with and they finally get it and it clicks and they're so excited. So just seeing the progress and helping people achieve their goals and getting to be a part of people's journeys with their horses. I think it's a really cool experience and it's really an honor for me to be able to be a part of that with people and their horses. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. How many clients do you have currently?
Good question. Well, I've got a couple of horses here in training, and then between myself and my assistant, we've probably got about 15, 20 different students. Yeah.
That's a beautiful amount. I love it.
Yeah.
And are they all different levels, from beginners?
Yeah. We've got a variety of different levels. A lot of what I do is focusing on helping people to connect with their horses better and to help their horses feel better and be healthier. So like we talk a lot about biomechanics and communication and things like that so that I can help the horse-human partnership grow together. So I work with a variety of different levels and even like just pleasure riders, trail riders, things like that. And then also people who are more interested in going further with the dressage and getting into more advanced dressage or liberty work or that kind of thing. So yeah, a variety of different levels, different breeds of horses. Yeah.
Very cool. I'm curious about the liberty work.
Yeah.
how long have you been doing that, and how has it enhanced your connections with riding?
So I've been doing that for probably about, let's see, now I have to do math, a little over 10 years. And I got started with that when I got my first horse. He was handled pretty harshly before I got him, and had a lot of trauma from that. So was very anxious and reactive and even explosive under saddle. So we had a lot of work to do to kind of rebuild his trust and that kind of thing. And that's how I had seen Liberty done before that. And it always, looked cool to me and was kind of something I wanted to try, but he's the one who really set me down that path because, it just really helped us to build our partnership and our connection, in a way that I couldn't do under saddle with him because he had so many trust issues. So that really helped us kind of come together and work through some of his things. And he helped me with some of my things too. And together we kind of started down that path. And I've been doing it ever since because it is such a great way of connecting with your horse. And, even if you never want to do, crazy advanced Liberty, it's kind of like dressage in the sense that the foundation of it, gives you a really good foundation for your relationship with your horse. So the basics of Liberty, really I think it's stuff that everybody should learn because it's just so helpful in your partnership and your communication with your horse.
Yeah, I think it definitely builds trust. And for my pony and I, it's definitely bonding and a playful thing. He invites me to do it. He's always inviting me, come on, let's play more.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of horses really love it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you go through a proper course, or did you just learn by trial and error with your horse? How did you?
I did some clinics. I did a lot of trial and error. Yeah. I had before then done some natural horsemanship too, so I was familiar with round penning and being able to direct them in that way. So I kind of developed and refined that and kind of incorporated that into what I was doing. And then I did do some online courses and that kind of thing. So it's kind of a meld of different clinics and online courses and then just my own personal experience and what my horses have taught me.
Right on. Yeah, the horses teach us so much.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot like you're a lot like me where you're a good sponge. You take in what you like, trickle out what you don't.
I love learning.
So awesome. So have you shifted your way of teaching over the years in any way?
I guess as I've progressed, the biggest thing is I've just gotten better at breaking things down into really small pieces to make it easier for both people and horses to understand and to make it achievable. A lot of times, we'll try and go too far or too fast, or, we've got this goal in mind that we want to be able to, do whatever with our horse, but we can kind of gloss through or skip through the steps that lead to that final product. And, sometimes it's because we're in a hurry. Sometimes it's because we just don't really understand the components, that we need to get to that final product. So that's really a big part of my teaching now is being able to break things down, keep it simple, and then take those simple pieces and build them together to create the more complex product.
Excellent. So just really big emphasis on the basics and the building blocks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And having that strong foundation is super important, because everything builds off of that. So if you've got weaknesses in your foundation, they're going to show up later. So you might as well just do it right from the beginning.
Totally get that. Yes. It's always interesting to meet a new horse and rider and see what they're doing and then just gently nudge them towards, let's see if we can just come back to some basic walk halt transition, see how we go, Yeah. Totally get
Yeah, and a lot of times then it clicks, and then, they have that light bulb moment that we were talking about earlier, and they're like, oh, that makes sense. And now that big goal is so much more achievable.
And I'm sure that's so much better for the horses. I know from my experience, just doing short and sweet sessions, highlighting the good stuff, and then just tiny bit more each time, it really makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times, we rush our horses too, to get to the final goal, and like, we know what we want, we know we want our horse to do X, Y, Z, but the horse is like, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what you're trying to tell me, and you've skipped through those basic steps that the horse needs to have first. And I find that that's where a lot of problems come in between horses and riders, is that there's just like miscommunication, basically, because the horse just doesn't know what's going on and hasn't been prepared for whatever it is that the human is asking for. Because we're speaking to them in a whole nother language, and, you can't start with like complex, chapter books when you're learning a new language. You've got to start with the basics and build from there.
Do you find that your clients are receptive to slowing things down and coming back to the basics, or is there a little resistance?
I have a really good group of clients now that are very open and responsive to it, and they've seen the progress, and they've seen how much it helps, and I've even had people tell me, I'm so glad you're breaking this down for me. Before, no one ever has before, and I always felt like rushed and struggling because I didn't really know what was going on, and they were just barking commands at me, and like I didn't have, those pieces. So yeah, I've got a really good group of students. In the past, I have had people who have worked with me and then moved on because our approaches didn't align. And not everybody is receptive to it. That's okay. We're all where we are on our journeys, but I have seen a lot of people be really, really open to it, and I think more and more people are realizing that we need to listen to our horses and keep their needs in mind too as we're going, and not just be hyper fixated on our personal goals.
Exactly. I'm so glad to hear that. And that has been the resounding majority of most people I've been interviewing. And of course, awesome. It's the law of attraction. I'm only going to pick people exactly. that I resonate with too. So it makes sense. But yeah, it's just good to hear the journey and know that the ones that aren't really aligned with that move on, and you wish them the best, and hopefully they'll sort it out, especially for the horse's sake. So yeah. So Bethany, how do you stay inspired?
Well, I love to learn, like I said earlier. So I enjoy going to clinics, reading books, and working with other trainers and that kind of thing, to continue to develop my own skills. And then also it does help me stay inspired as well. Yeah, so just learning as much as I can, and then I'll be like, oh, I want to try that thing with my horses, and it it gives me new inspiration, or like a different way of looking at things, or that kind of thing. So yeah.
Cool. Is there something recently that you've learned that you went ahead and implemented and it was great?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I've been really focusing on like biomechanics and going deeper, like really deeper into that. So it's always just so fascinating to learn more about the body and how, like, the different connections in the body, and how everything works together and relates, and having that in mind when we're working with the horses, because it's so important, right? And a lot of times, like, people don't really and I'm not saying everyone has to be, an expert, at anatomy and know every muscle and tendon and everything. I certainly don't, but it is so good to have a foundational knowledge of what's going on in the horse's body, because, then it just, everything that we're doing with them can make more sense, and, it can help you to problem solve too, and that kind of thing. So I think having a good understanding of the horse's body is really important, and the human body too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so good. So what are some of your teaching tips that you might want to share that can help elevate the horse world?
Okay, so my biggest tips for people would be learn to understand and listen to the horse. So that goes back to that communication, and that's where the Liberty work can be so great too. Because, partnership and communication, it's not a one-way street. So we have to be listening to our horses too. And a lot of times they're trying to communicate things with us, and we're either oblivious or we're just not listening because we're so focused on, again, achieving our goals. So listening to your horse, work on developing your own skills. So, whether that's, doing a yoga class so that you can, get a little bit more flexible in your body, or taking a course so you can understand your horse's behavior a little bit more, whatever it is. A lot of times, like, we want to make our horses better, and we're doing all these things for our horses, but we kind of don't work on ourselves as much. And I'm just as guilty of it as anyone else. But it is important to work on our own skills too. We already talked a lot about breaking things down into small steps, but that is probably one of my biggest pieces of advice, is to just think simpler and think about how you can take a complex skill and break it down into several less complex things, and then put them back together to create that more complex skill. Another big thing that's really important for me is understanding why we're doing something. So that's a big part of my teaching too, is like, I'm not going to tell you to just do something with your horse without explaining why we're doing it. I know for myself as a learner, if I don't understand why, then I have a hard time like making that connection and being able to do whatever the thing is. Like, I need to know why we're doing it. And I think that's important, because then you're not just doing something because your instructor told you to, but you actually understand the why, and then you can apply that to different circumstances too. So, like, if, okay, I can do this to help my horse, come into better balance, or whatever it is. And then you're not just doing it when your instructor tells you to, but like, you could be riding around and do something else and feel your horse get a little off balance, and oh, okay, I know what to do now, right? So I want to create riders who can not just follow direction, but can actually think and figure things out on their own, and be able to work with their horses on their own, and help their horses and feel confident in doing that themselves. And of course, I'm here to support them and increase their knowledge, but I want them to be able to understand the tools and how to use them and that kind of thing. And then my last one would be to try and stay away from extreme thinking and be willing to think outside of the box. So, if you've been in the horse world for any length of time, you know that people can get very polarized on certain topics, right? And of course, there's some things like, we don't want to be aggressive or, abusive. Obviously those things are a hard no.
Right.
But there's other things like, it could be shoeing your horse or stalling your horse, or positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement, or whatever the hot topic, argument is in the horse world right now. I try and stay away from extremes and find the balance in the middle. So I use a blend of positive and negative reinforcement. I try to keep my horses outside as much as possible, but I have an older gelding who loves his stall. So, he gets to come in, and he still goes out during the day, but he comes in at night, and he's got a nice, warm, quiet bed, and he gets to eat his food in peace, and that kind of thing. So, of course, I'm here to support them and I think it's just about finding what works best for you and your horse as individuals rather than following, one extreme or the other and trying to stick with that no matter what. We're all individual as humans and as horses. So, don't be afraid to try something different. I've learned from Western trainers, I've learned from, a variety of different trainers too, different skills and that kind of thing. So just don't get stuck in one thing, think outside the box, be adaptable, be willing to change.
I love that so much, Bethany. And you and I are very similar. There's certain things where I'll draw a line in the sand, but overall it's like whatever works best for you and your horse, you have to really listen to your heart, listen to your intuition, listen to your horse's heart. And that makes all the difference. There's always going to be noise of other people's opinions. And as my husband loves to say, you wouldn't let someone tell you how to brush your teeth. So don't let them tell you what to do with your horse.
I love that.
It's like, that's so good. But going back to your fourth point, I really love that you explained the why. And anytime I do that in a lesson, my clients light up. They're like, oh, I get it now. And what's really cool is we also, in the lessons, we tell the horses what's going on. Because we're inviting them to do things like, hey, we want to do this now because this is what will help you with your body and mind work together. And in a recent clinic, Jan and I did together, she's now a communicator. One of the horses actually said, I need to know the why. You have to give me the play-by-play to understand why we're even doing this movement. And for the horse to actually relay that was so gorgeous. We're like,
that's really cool.
So that way it reminds us to always keep breaking it down that way. So I'm so glad you brought that up. That was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, we forget to take things from our horse's perspective, because it all seems normal to us and we know what we want, we know what we're doing, but the horse is like, I'm supposed to be out in a field somewhere and now I'm in a building and there's this thing on my back and this predator is trying to they don't know what we're trying to do with them half the time, I think. And my body feels weird and, all these things. So, I think that's a really good point to think about, understanding the why from the horse's perspective too.
Totally. Yeah. So do you have a story about a favorite lesson horse you want to share?
Yeah, not one specific story, but just kind of his journey as a whole. So I mentioned earlier my Andalusian gelding who was pretty traumatized when I got him. And it took us quite a long time to figure each other out. There were a lot of things I needed to learn that he taught me. And he's the one who really kind of started me on the, path that I ended up taking to where I am now. So it was quite a challenge, and I learned a lot, but now he's absolutely, that horse is an angel from heaven. He's such a wonderful teacher. He's so giving. He's absolutely wonderful, and he's so good at reading and adapting to his rider and giving you exactly what you need. So when I ride him, I can do upper level dressage with him. I can do a lot of really high energy work and really get him going. And then I could get off of him and put my 7-year-old son on him and let them plod around the arena. So he's just amazing. He's so special and is such a good teacher and so generous and so willing and just kind-hearted. So he's come a long way from the horse that was explosive and really didn't like people at all before. So it's just a really cool transformation.
That's beautiful. It's a testament to your relationship and how much time you took with him. Yeah. I love that. And I love that he can take care of your 7-year-old. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, he's a horse. I can put anyone on him who's not going to get strong with him. So if you get on and you start, thinking that you're hot stuff and trying trying to push him around. He won't do anything bad, but he's like, no, we're not going to do that. None of my students are like that. But, as long as you're, respectful to him and kind to him, anyone can ride him, and he's so sweet. And like I said, he's so adaptable too. So he can teach such a wide variety of students.
That's such a blessing. I love it.
Yeah.
And what was his name?
Illustre.
I love that.
Yeah, he's an Andalusian gelding.
Gorgeous. What's something that surprised you while teaching?
I think it kind of, again, going back to like being able to explain things. So that was a challenge for me at first. When I started teaching, I had been riding for quite a while and was fairly adept at that. But the teaching part of it was definitely a challenge in the beginning, and figuring out, like, I guess the challenge for me is I'm a very feel-based person. So I know what I'm feeling when I'm riding, and I know what I want it to feel like. And I know, okay, I feel this, so that means this is happening, or whatever. But then being able to figure out how to explain that to people was a challenge in the beginning, but now it's something that I really enjoy doing, because again, going back to that, understanding why and that kind of thing. And that really helps my own knowledge too, because now I had to really figure out how to explain it, and figure out how to explain it in multiple ways too, even because not everybody learns the same. So I think starting to teach was so incredibly wonderful for my own knowledge too, and just how much it's taught me. But yeah, teaching is totally different from riding.
It really is. And it's so true. I learn from every student in horse combination.
Absolutely.
Every time. Even I just realized this spring will be 25 years of teaching.
Wow.
I was like, whoa, that's
congratulations.
Thank you. So
that's awesome.
It's been a lot of time. But it's just such a blessing to be able to do it. And I love coming up with new analogies. And like I ask my clients a lot of times, like what really inspires them. Like, do they like certain books? Do they like movies? Do they like certain other sports? And then I can help combine that. So it just really helps create like the bigger picture for it to click in for them. So I love getting creative like that.
I love that.
Thank you. Yeah. So do you have a transformation story about a student that you'd like to share?
Again, I don't know that I have one specific story, but just going back to like what I was talking about at the beginning and seeing those transformations, like I've worked with students that have a lot of fear issues, so helping them overcome that. I have one student who had a fall and an injury and then had a lot of fear, and then when she finally had the confidence to canter again on her own, those moments are just so incredibly amazing. Or like having people who have struggled with their relationship with their horse and just like not really known where to go from there, and then helping them figure out what's going on and how to help their horse, and just seeing their relationship with the horse transform. I think those are some of the really cool moments of being a teacher.
Beautiful. What are some of the things you do to help people overcome their fear? Because that's a big topic in my world. So
it is a big topic, and you could probably educate me on that quite a bit, actually. But we do a lot of visualization and breathing work, and then some of it too is determining where the fear is coming from. So I see a lot of riders who have never learned like good rider biomechanics. So they're sitting in a position that's maybe not very balanced. When they're riding like that, well, yeah, you're out of balance. Your body doesn't feel good. of course you're not going to feel good. So can I help you, learn how to use your body in a healthier, more effective way? And then you're going to feel more comfortable on the horse, and then you'll get confidence from that. Or is your fear coming because your horse isn't listening to you? So how do we address that then? Where's the disconnect there? Because it's not just because your horse is, naughty or doesn't like you. Something is going on. So we need to figure out how to improve your communication. And then when you feel like your horse is listening to you, then you're going to feel more confident. So kind of trying to get to the root cause of the fear too, and see if that's something that we can address. Yeah.
I love that. And then if they're still not sure, then they can come to me for hypnotherapy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And we'll have the subconscious tell us the root cause, and that's always such a surprising and enlightening thing. So yeah, and I'm really glad you do the visualization and the breathing. It's so important to get them back into their bodies and then visualize what they want to see, because those what if negative scenarios will take over. But if you start to program your mind with the good stuff, then there's no room for the gnarly things. So yeah.
One of the other things too with the fear is, again, going back to those small pieces and taking small steps and creating positive experiences. I think like a lot of times people are pushed really fast, and they don't have the skills that they need or the knowledge or whatever. So they're doing things that are a little too advanced for them, and then that can cause a fear situation, or it can cause a bad situation where maybe they fall off or lose control or something like that. And it's because they really shouldn't have been doing what they were doing in the first place. So like taking things down and having a lot of like really small but successful moments, because as I'm sure one negative experience is like, it takes so many positive experiences to undo that then, right? Because our brains, hyper focus on the negative. So like really trying to take it slow and have as many positive experiences as we can and minimize the negative experiences. And I mean, of course, things are going to happen, we can't control everything, but there's a lot of things that we can control, and we can set it up so that the student can be successful and have those positive experiences, and that'll help a lot with the confidence too.
That's beautiful. And I really love that you emphasize going slowly, because if someone's overfaced, they're going to get frazzled, and the confidence is not going to develop.
Exactly. And you can't really force confidence to happen, like.
No, but I do talk about getting into a power stance and getting into the good state.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's different. That's like helping your body to feel more comfortable, but you can't just like force it to happen in the time that you want. It still takes time.
Yeah, just like anything else. You just want to keep repeating the good stuff until it builds.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can't remember when you were scared, and that's the coolest part. You're like, oh wow, like this is nothing. I remember shifting. I used to get butterflies almost every time for jumping, and the root cause was because I had a concussion off of a young horse I was learning to jump on while he was learning to jump when I was 11. And so when we figured that out, I was able to release that and, tell my 11-year-old self that she's safe now. And now anytime I go for jumping, I don't have butterflies. It's the coolest thing. I'm like,
awesome.
Oh my gosh, I love this. So it could be that simple. But I just love that you're able to recognize that going slow and doing those smaller steps is what helps the most. And it's so important, because there are a lot of people that just go, no, they're fine, just throw them in the deep end and they'll figure it out. And
exactly. Or like just get back on the horse and go. Like that's not always the best approach.
No, because if your nervous system is shot, then that's not fair to you or the horse. So but you get it. That's so good. Okay, Bethany, if you could teach a master class to other instructors, what would it be, and what would be some of the key topics?
Okay, so I would focus on the horse-human communication. So communication between the horse and the human, and helping instructors to be able to help their students with that. I think that's kind of a missing component in riding schools and riding centers these days, at least around here, where people are taught to ride and they're taught how to do the things, walk, trot, canter, whatever, but they're not taught the communication with the horse. So some components to that I would focus on would be understanding the way your horse thinks and learns. Because that's huge. Horses don't think the way that we do, right? Because they're prey animals and they take in the world very differently than we do. And again, a lot of problems that I see happen because of misunderstandings, because we expect the horse to react or behave a certain way because that's how we would, but it's a horse, not a human, so they're gonna process things differently. And then again, breaking things down into small, simple steps, be able to communicate in a way that the horse understands. So again, we have to figure out how they learn, how they respond, so that we can really communicate in a way that makes sense to them, and that they can easily respond to, and in a way that the human students can then replicate, So again, I don't want you doing something just because I told you to. I want you to understand why, so that you can then replicate it in the future and use it on your own. And then again, being able to explain the why of everything, and being able to problem solve. And that goes back to understanding the why, because when you understand the why and how, then you have these tools and, you're not grabbing a wrench to pound a nail in, right? You're grabbing the right tool for the thing that's going on with your horse right then. But you have to understand why you're using these tools. And, that could be different exercises or different movements or whatever. But if you understand why, then you can then take that and apply it to different things too. And then you can problem solve and you can, figure out what's going on. And that, you have to understand how the horse thinks and how the horse responds and their instincts and that kind of thing too. So that's part of the why as well. And when you can understand all of that, and then you've got all these tools that you can use to help work through sticky situations and figure out why things aren't working.
Brilliant. Love it. That sounds like a great class. Is there anything else you'd like to add that I haven't asked you?
Oh, well, we talked a lot about, I think we covered a lot of the stuff that I wanted to say. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just, listening to your horse, understanding your horse, working on your communication with your horse, it's not just about, your goals. It's about the partnership and the journey. And it's about everybody feeling good during the process. Because our horses aren't just a tool or a machine for us to use. They're living creatures, and we are their stewards. And so it's our job to do what we can to give them the best lives possible and make sure that they feel safe and they feel comfortable, and we're not just using and abusing them, but we're treating them as partners and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to create a billboard for other riding instructors to see, what would it say?
It would say, never forget what an honor it is to be in the presence of a horse.
Oh, full chills.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So good. Well, Bethany, this was awesome. Do you have anything that you want to share with the listeners? Any kind of offer that you wanted to share?
Yeah, so I have a lot of online learning opportunities for people. So if you're interested in learning more about communicating with your horse, or liberty, biomechanics, healthy movement for horses, that kind of thing. We kind of have a very holistic approach to our training too. So I guess that would be something else I would add, because it's not just riding or groundwork or, everything ties in together. And, it's about how you take care of the horse and how they live and their lifestyle and how healthy they are and how they're moving and how they feel emotionally and how you work with them on the ground and how you ride them and does their tack fit, and there's so many things that go into it, and it all has an effect on everything else, right? So we try and look at everything when we're trying to create that good, healthy life for our horses, and when we're trying to problem solve too. It's not just always a riding issue. Maybe it's they're not getting along with their friend out in the pasture, and that's affecting their emotional state. We have a virtual classroom that has over 150 videos on all kinds of different topics, from behavior and how your horse thinks and that kind of thing, how they learn, groundwork, liberty, riding, biomechanics, rider biomechanics. There's a lot of different stuff covered in there. And then we also have a book club going on right now too, that's in there. So if you sign up now, you can get a 1-week free trial, if you'd like. And that is on my website, which I think you'll be posting a link to, but it's just tuskydressage.com. We'd love to have you join us.
Fantastic. That's awesome. And I'll make sure that link is in the show notes for you, Bethany.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you again so much for joining me in this podcast. I really enjoyed chatting with you, Bethany.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it as well.
Yay, thank you. All right. Yeah. Well, listeners, if you enjoyed this, please do write a review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. And remember to lead with kindness for yourself and for your horse. And may the horse be with you always.